The morning of my son's wedding, I received an anonymous email that would stop a church full of 200 people in their tracks. The subject line read, "You need to see this before 2 p.m." Inside was a marriage certificate dated 3 years ago, with my son's bride's name on it. And the groom wasn't Derek. My name is Marianne Fletcher, and I'm coming to you today from my living room in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm still processing what happened 6 months ago. Before I tell you this story, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or state in the comments. I'd love to know where my story is reaching. And believe me, what I'm about to share will make you question everything you think you know about the people in your own family's life. It was September 23rd, a Saturday morning that had started like any mother of the groom's dream. I was in my guest bedroom, carefully stepping into my champagne-colored dress when my phone chimed. Derek and his fiancée, Natalie, were getting married at 2 o'clock that afternoon at St. Michael's Episcopal Church. The rehearsal dinner the night before had been perfect. She'd seemed sweet, grateful, everything a mother could want for her son. The email came from an address I didn't recognize, just a string of numbers and letters at a Gmail account. No message in the body, just an attachment labeled Natalie Morrison Marriage License PDF. My first thought was spam. My second thought was a cruel prank. Someone jealous, maybe one of Derek's ex-girlfriends trying to sabotage his happiness. But something made me open that file anyway. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was 28 years of being Derek's mother and knowing when something wasn't right. The document loaded slowly on my phone screen, and when it did, my breath caught in my throat. It was a marriage certificate from Clark County, Nevada. The bride's name, Natalie Jean Morrison. The same full name as my future daughter-in-law. Date of marriage, June 14th, 3 years ago. The groom's name, Marcus Chen, age 34. I sat down on the edge of my bed, my dress half-zipped, staring at this document. The seal looked official. The signatures looked real. The certificate number was right there at the top. This wasn't some Photoshop job made by a jealous ex. This looked legitimate. My hands were shaking as I forwarded the email to my brother, Thomas, who's a paralegal in Cleveland. I typed, "Can you verify if this is real? Urgent." Then I looked at the clock. It was 9:47 in the morning. The wedding was in 4 hours and 13 minutes. I tried to breathe. I tried to think logically. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Natalie had been married before and gotten divorced. Maybe she just hadn't told Derek. People keep secrets about their pasts sometimes, right? But even as I tried to rationalize it, something cold settled in my stomach. If she'd been divorced, why hide it? And if she hadn't been divorced, if she was still legally married to this Marcus Chen, then my son was about to commit bigamy without even knowing it. I called Thomas directly. He answered on the second ring, his voice still thick with sleep. "Marianne, it's Saturday morning. What? Did you get my email?" I interrupted. "I need you to look at something right now. Derek's wedding is today." I heard rustling, the sound of him sitting up. Okay, hold on. Let me open my laptop." The next 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. I paced my guest bedroom, listening to Thomas typing, clicking, breathing. My reflection in the mirror showed a woman I barely recognized. Hair done, makeup perfect, face completely drained of color. "Marianne?" Thomas said finally, and his tone made my heart sink. "This certificate number is real. I checked it against the Clark County database. A marriage license was issued to these 2 people on this date, and there's no divorce filing attached to this record." The room tilted. I grabbed the dresser to steady myself. "Are you absolutely certain?" "I'm looking at the Clark County Clerk's website right now. Unless someone has hacked into Nevada's government database, which I seriously doubt, this is legitimate. Natalie Morrison married Marcus Chen 3 years ago in Las Vegas, and according to public records, they never legally dissolved that marriage." My mind was racing. What do I do? The wedding is in 4 hours. There are 200 people coming. Derek doesn't know. He can't know. If he knew she was already married, he never would have. "You need to stop this wedding," Thomas said firmly. If Derek goes through with this ceremony, he could face legal consequences. Bigamy is a felony, Marianne. Even if he doesn't know about it, it's still a crime on paper. But how do I stop it? Do I just stand up and object when the priest asks? Do I pull Derek aside and show him this on my phone? He'll think I'm trying to sabotage his happiness. He'll think I'm some controlling mother who can't let go. You need a lawyer, Thomas said, and probably law enforcement. This isn't about objecting during a ceremony. This is about preventing a legal document from being filed that would be fraudulent. You need someone official who can stop the marriage license from being processed. I looked at the clock again. 9:58. Who do I call? I don't even know where to start. Janet Reeves, Thomas said immediately. She's a family law attorney in Columbus. We went to college together. She's tough and she's fast. I'll text you her cell number right now. Tell her I sent you and that this is an emergency. The text came through 30 seconds later. I stared at the number, my thumb hovering over the call button. This was real. This was actually happening. In less than 4 hours, my son was supposed to marry a woman who was already someone else's wife, and I was the only person who knew. I pressed the call button. Janet Reeves answered on the third ring. This is Janet. My name is Marianne Fletcher. Thomas Monroe gave me your number. I need help, and I need it in the next 4 hours. My son is about to marry a woman who's already legally married to someone else. There was a pause. Then, where are you right now? I'm at my house on Maple Drive, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The wedding is at St. Michael's Episcopal Church at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I can be at your house in 20 minutes, Janet said. Don't call your son yet. Don't call the bride. Don't call anyone until I get there and we figure out the best approach. Do you have proof? I have a marriage certificate that was emailed to me anonymously this morning. My brother verified it's legitimate through the Clark County database. Forward it to me right now, she said, rattling off her email address. I'm getting dressed as we speak. Have you had coffee? No, I can't think about coffee right now. Make some anyway. You're going to need to be sharp. I'll see you in 20 minutes, Marianne. She hung up. I sent the email immediately, then walked downstairs on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. My husband Frank was in the kitchen reading the newspaper, already dressed in his tuxedo for the wedding. He looked up with a smile that faded the moment he saw my face. Marianne, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I showed him the email without saying a word, watched his expression change as he read the certificate, watched the confusion turn to shock, turn to anger. This has to be fake, he said, but his voice had no conviction. Someone's trying to mess with us. Someone's trying to ruin Derek's wedding day. Thomas verified it. It's real. She's still married to this Marcus Chen person, and Derek has no idea. My voice cracked on my son's name. Frank, what are we going to do? He set down the certificate and pulled me into his arms. We stood there in our kitchen, both of us dressed for a wedding that might not happen, holding each other like the floor might give way beneath us, and in a way it had. We tell him, Frank said quietly. We show him the proof, and we let him make the decision. There's no decision to make, I said, pulling back. If he marries her today, he's committing bigamy. Even if he doesn't know it, even if she's the one who lied, he could face criminal charges. And what kind of woman does this? What kind of person plans an entire wedding, accepts an engagement ring, tells someone she loves them, all while she's legally married to someone else? The doorbell rang at 10:17. Janet Reeves stood on our front porch with a briefcase in one hand and her phone in the other. She was probably in her mid-50s with short gray hair and the kind of direct gaze that made you feel like she could see through walls. Show me everything, she said, walking straight to our kitchen table. No small talk, no pleasantries, just business. I pulled up the email on my phone. She studied the certificate for 90 seconds, her expression unreadable. Then she made a phone call. Steve, it's Janet Reeves. I need a favor, and I need it fast. Can you meet me at St. Michael's Episcopal Church at 1:30 this afternoon? Bring your badge. Janet ended the call and looked directly at me. Steve Harrison is a sheriff with Franklin County. He's good people, and he understands family law situations. Here's what's going to happen. We need to verify this marriage certificate one more time independently, which I can do through a legal database I have access to. If it checks out, and I suspect it will, we need to contact the church and potentially stop the ceremony before any legal documents are signed. What about Derek? Frank asked. When do we tell our son? That's your call as parents, Janet said, opening her laptop. But if I were you, I'd wait until we're absolutely certain of the facts. The last thing you want is to blow up his wedding day based on incomplete information. Give me 10 minutes to verify this. Those 10 minutes were excruciating. Frank made coffee that none of us drank. I stood by the window, watching neighbors walk their dogs, children riding bicycles, the normal Saturday morning activities of people whose worlds weren't falling apart. Janet typed constantly, made 3 more phone calls, and took pages of notes. Finally, she looked up. It's confirmed. Natalie Jean Morrison married Marcus Chen on June 14th, 3 years ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. The marriage license was issued by Clark County, witnessed by 2 people whose names are on record and officially filed. There is no divorce decree, no annulment, no legal dissolution of any kind. As of this morning, Natalie Morrison is still legally married to Marcus Chen. The words hung in the air like a verdict. So what happens now? I asked. We just show up at the church and announce this? Derek will be devastated. His friends and family are coming from 3 states. The reception is already paid for. The photographer, the flowers, everything. Better devastated now than arrested later, Janet said bluntly. Marianne, I know this is painful, but if Derek signs that marriage license today, he will be committing bigamy under Ohio law. That's a first-degree misdemeanor which carries up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Even if he had no knowledge of Natalie's previous marriage, the law doesn't care. The document would be fraudulent, and he'd be liable. Frank put his head in his hands. How did we not know? How did this woman fool all of us? She's been around for 1.5 years. She came to Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. She sat in this kitchen and talked about her childhood, her parents who died in a car accident, her sister in California. Was all of that a lie too? I don't know, Janet said. But we need to find out who sent you this email and why. Someone out. There knows about Natalie's marriage and wanted you to have this information specifically today. That's not random. That's intentional. She was right. The timing was too perfect, too deliberate. Someone had waited until the morning of the wedding to drop this bomb. Not yesterday during the rehearsal dinner, not last week when there would have been time to investigate quietly. Today, when it would cause maximum chaos and maximum pain. Do you think Marcus Chen sent it? I asked. Her real husband? Janet shook her head slowly. I don't know. It's possible. But that email address is a burner account, just random numbers and letters. Whoever sent this didn't want to be traced. They wanted the information to come out, but they didn't want to be connected to it. Could it be someone from Derek's past? Frank suggested. An ex-girlfriend who's jealous? Or someone from Natalie's past, I said. Someone who knows what she's done and thinks Derek deserves to know before he makes the biggest mistake of his life. Janet closed her laptop. Here's what I recommend. At 1:30, you, me, Frank, and Sheriff Harrison meet at the church before guests start arriving. We'll speak with the priest or whoever is officiating the ceremony. We'll show them the evidence. They have the legal right and moral obligation to refuse to perform a ceremony if they know one party is already married. Then we'll need to tell Derek. My stomach turned over. He's going to hate me. He's going to think I'm trying to control his life, that I never approved of Natalie, that I'm making this up to stop the wedding. Then we'll show him the proof, Janet said firmly. Marianne, you're not the villain here. Natalie is. She's the one who lied to your son. She's the one who accepted his proposal knowing she was already married. She's the one who planned an entire wedding knowing it was illegal. You're trying to protect him from serious legal consequences and a lifetime with someone who's capable of this level of deception. Frank stood up. I'll get dressed in something more practical than a tuxedo. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." He paused at the doorway and looked back at me. "Marianne, you saved our son today. Remember that. Whatever happens next, you saved him." After Frank left the room, Janet leaned forward. "I need to ask you something. Do you have any way to contact Marcus Chen? Because if we're going to confront Natalie at the church, having her actual legal husband there would make things pretty cut and dry." I stared at her. "I don't even know how to find him. All I have is his name on a marriage certificate." "Let me make some calls," Janet said, pulling out her phone again. "If he's still in Nevada, I have contacts out there who might be able to track him down. At minimum, we need to know if he's aware that his wife is about to commit bigamy in Ohio." While Janet worked her phone, I went upstairs and changed out of my hours ago, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong, like she hadn't just destroyed everything. The urge to slap her was so strong I had to grip the door frame to keep my hands steady. "Morning," I said, forcing my voice to sound normal. "Yeah, I'm up, just nervous, you know." She pulled me into a hug. I stood there stiff as a board, her vanilla perfume making my stomach turn. "Oh, honey, that's completely normal. Every bride gets nervous, but today's going to be perfect, I promise." Perfect. Right. I pulled away, excusing myself to shower. I locked the bathroom door and stood under the hot water until my skin turned pink, scrubbing and scrubbing like I could wash away what I'd seen. But it didn't work. The image was burned into my brain. My mother's laugh, Daniel's bare chest, the casual intimacy of it all. How long had this been going on? Weeks? Months? Had it started before Dad died or after? Was I the idiot who'd brought them together? I'd introduced Daniel to my family last year at Thanksgiving. Mom had liked him immediately, said he was charming and thoughtful. He'd helped her clean up after dinner. They'd talked about his work, about the housing market, about nothing and everything. Had they been planning this even then? The worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was the performance. The way they'd both looked me in the eye, day after day, pretending. Mom helping me address invitations. Daniel and I picking out cake flavors. Sunday dinners where all three of us sat around the table like a normal family. They'd lied with such ease, such confidence. And they thought I'd never find out. Rachel showed up at 8 with the other bridesmaids, all of them buzzing with energy and champagne they'd started drinking in the car. I plastered on a smile and let them hug me and squeal about how excited they were. The hairstylist arrived at 8:30, setting up her station in the living room. Mom fluttered around playing hostess, offering coffee and pastries from the bakery on 5th Street. I watched her, really watched her. The way she moved, the way she laughed with my friends, the way she kept catching my eye and smiling like we were sharing some special mother-daughter moment. She'd always been good at this, at being the perfect mom. After Dad died, she'd been the strong one, the one who held it together while I fell apart. She'd planned the funeral, handled the life insurance, kept the house running. Everyone in town talked about how amazing she was, how devoted to her daughter. What a joke. "Your mom is seriously the sweetest," Rachel whispered to me, while the stylist pinned my hair up. "I hope I'm half as close with my daughter someday." I smiled and nodded, my jaw aching from holding the expression. "Yeah, she's something else." My phone kept buzzing. Daniel sending photos of him and his groomsmen getting ready at his apartment. Him in his tux, looking handsome and happy. His best man, Kyle, making a stupid face in the afternoon sun. Old stone walls covered in ivy. Stained glass windows glowing with color. White roses lining the walkway to the entrance. It should have been perfect. Instead, it felt like we were driving to a funeral. Sheriff Harrison was waiting in the parking lot, a tall man in his late 40s with kind eyes and a serious expression. He shook our hands and listened while Janet briefed him on everything we knew. Then he said the words I'd been dreading. "You need to tell your son before we talk to anyone else. He deserves to hear this from you, not from me and not from some priest." "He's inside getting ready," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's probably putting on his boutonniere right now. He's probably thinking about his vows and how happy he is." Then we need to go inside, Frank said, taking my hand. We need to do this now. The church side room smelled like furniture polish and old hymn books. Frank and I walked down the hallway toward the room where Derek was getting ready with his best man and groomsmen. We could hear laughter inside, music playing, the sound of young men celebrating what should have been one of the happiest days of their lives. Frank knocked. "Derek, it's Dad. Can we talk to you for a minute? Alone?" The door opened, and there was my son. 26 years old, wearing his tuxedo, his face bright with joy. He looked so much like Frank had looked on our wedding day, nervous and excited and completely, beautifully happy. "Mom, Dad, you're here. Wait until you see how everything turned out. The flowers are incredible. And Natalie's dress—" He stopped, really looking at us for the first time. "What's wrong? Why do you both look like that?" "We need to talk to you," I said. "It's important. Can you come with us somewhere private?" His smile faded. "Is someone hurt? Did something happen to Aunt Marie?" "No one's hurt," Frank said, "but we need to show you something, right now before the ceremony." We led him to an empty Sunday school classroom down the hall. Janet and Sheriff Harrison were waiting outside, giving us privacy for this moment. Derek looked from me to Frank, his expression shifting from confusion to concern to the beginning of fear. "You're scaring me," he said. "What's going on?" I pulled out my phone and opened the email. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. "This morning I received an anonymous email. I need you to look at something, and I need you to really look at it before you say anything." I handed him the phone, watched him read the subject line, watched him open the attachment, watched his face change as he understood what he was seeing. "This is Natalie's name," he said slowly. "But this says she got married 3 years ago. This has to be fake. Someone's playing a prank or trying to mess with us because they're jealous or—" "It's real," Frank said gently. "We had it verified by a lawyer and by the county records office in Nevada. Derek, Natalie is still legally married to a man named Marcus Chen. She never got divorced. The marriage is still active." Derek shook his head, backing away from us. No, that's not possible. Natalie would have told me. We've been together for 1.5 years. She would have mentioned if she was married before. People don't just hide something like that." "Some people do," I said, my voice breaking. "And she did. Derek, we have a lawyer and a sheriff here right now. We have documentation from Marcus Chen's attorney showing that he's been trying to divorce Natalie for 2 years, and she's been avoiding it. This isn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. She lied to you." "Why?" he whispered. "Why would she do this? She loves me. She said yes when I proposed. She planned this whole wedding with me. Her sister is here, her friends are here." He stopped. "Wait, has she been lying about her family too?" Frank and I exchanged a glance. We hadn't even thought about that. If Natalie had lied about being married, what else had she lied about? "I don't know," I admitted. "But Derek, there's more. According to Marcus Chen's lawyer, Natalie did this before. She was engaged to someone else in California 2 years ago, while she was still married to Marcus. This is a pattern for her." Derek sat down hard in one of the small Sunday school chairs. He looked like a child suddenly, lost and confused, his tuxedo too formal for the moment, his face too pale for someone who should have been beaming with happiness. "I need to talk to her," he said. "I need to hear her explain this. There has to be a reason. Maybe Marcus is lying. Maybe he's trying to get back at her for something. Maybe—" "Derek," Frank said, kneeling in front of him, "listen to me. If you marry Natalie today, you will be committing bigamy. That's a crime. Even if you didn't know, even if she lied to you, the legal document would still be fraudulent. We're trying to protect you from serious consequences here." "I don't care about consequences." Derek stood up, his voice rising. "I love her. I've been planning this day for 8 months. Everyone I know is showing up in 45 minutes to watch me marry the woman I love, and you're telling me it's all a lie? Based on an anonymous email?" "Based on verified court records," I said firmly. "Derek, I know this hurts. I know you don't want to believe it. But we have a sheriff outside who can confirm everything we're telling you. We have documentation. We have proof." He stared at me with eyes that looked exactly like they had when he was 7 years old and found out his dog had died. Betrayed, heartbroken, angry at the world for being cruel. "You never liked her. You always thought she was hiding something? This is exactly what you wanted, isn't it?" The words cut deeper than he knew. "Derek Michael Fletcher, you look at me right now." I waited until he met my eyes. "I would give anything for this to be fake. I would give anything for that marriage certificate to be photoshopped by some jealous ex-girlfriend. But it's not. It's real. And I'm your mother, and my job is to protect you even when it hurts, even when you hate me for it." There was a soft knock on the door. Janet Reeves stepped inside. "Derek, I'm Janet Reeves. I'm a family law attorney. Your parents called me this morning to verify the information they received. I've spent the last 3 hours checking every possible database and record. Your fiancé is legally married to Marcus Chen. That marriage was never dissolved. If you sign a marriage license today, you'll be committing a crime." "Then I'll talk to her," Derek said, his jaw set. "I'll ask her directly, and she'll explain everything." Janet nodded. "That's your right. But she's going to be here any minute, and 200 guests are going to start arriving. We need to handle this carefully. Would you like us to bring her here to talk to you?" "Yes," Derek said. "Bring her here. Now." Janet stepped out to find Natalie. Derek paced the small classroom like a caged animal, his hands clenching and unclenching. Frank and I stood near the door, silent witnesses to our son's world falling apart. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Natalie stepped in, wearing her wedding dress, a stunning ivory gown with lace sleeves and a cathedral train. Her makeup was perfect, her hair arranged in elegant curls, her smile radiant until she saw all of our faces. "Derek? What's going on? Why does everyone look so serious?" She laughed nervously. "Did something happen with the flowers? I told them, specifically—" "Are you married?" Derek asked, his voice flat. The smile froze on her face. "What? No, I'm marrying you today, in 30 minutes. What kind of question?" "Are you married to Marcus Chen?" Derek held up the marriage certificate on his phone. "This is a legal document from Clark County, Nevada, showing that you married him 3 years ago. Is it real?" I watched Natalie's face cycle through expressions. Confusion, shock, fear, calculation. It happened in less than 5 seconds, but I saw all of it. I saw her decide how to play this. "That was a mistake," she said quickly. "We got married in Vegas on a whim. We were young and stupid. It didn't mean anything. We separated after a few months." "Did you get divorced?" Janet asked from the doorway. Natalie's eyes darted to Janet, seeing the laptop and briefcase, understanding that this was official. "It was complicated. Marcus moved around a lot. I couldn't find him to finalize the paperwork." "That's interesting," Janet said coolly, "because Marcus Chen's attorney tells a different story. He says Marcus has been trying to divorce you for 2 years. He says you've been avoiding service, changing addresses, making it impossible for him to find you. He says you were engaged to someone else in California before you came to Ohio." The color drained from Natalie's face. "That's not true. Whoever told you that is lying." "So, Marcus Chen's lawyer is lying?" Janet pulled out a document. "These are divorce petition papers filed by Marcus Chen 18 months ago. Your signature is required, but you've never responded. You've never shown up to a single court date. You've made yourself unreachable." Natalie turned to Derek, tears streaming down her face now. "Derek, please. I was going to tell you. I was waiting for the divorce to go through. I didn't want you to worry about something that didn't matter. I love you. This doesn't change how I feel about you." "You lied to me," Derek said, his voice hollow. "You let me propose. You planned a wedding. You were going to let me commit a crime without even telling me you were already married. It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" Derek's voice rose. "Explain it to me, Natalie. Explain how you forgot to mention you have a husband. Explain how you thought it was okay to show up here in a wedding dress, knowing our marriage wouldn't even be legal. Explain how I'm supposed to trust anything you've ever said to me." Sheriff Harrison stepped into the room. "Ms. Morrison, I'm going to need you to come with me." Natalie's eyes widened with real fear. "Am I being arrested?" "Not yet," Sheriff Harrison said, "but you're about to attempt to commit bigamy, which is a crime in Ohio. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. You need to leave this church immediately, and you need to understand that if you attempt to file any marriage documents with Derek Fletcher's name on them, you'll face criminal charges." "Derek?" Natalie reached for him, but he stepped back, away from her touch. "Don't," he said. "Just don't. Get out. Get out of this church. Get out of my life, and don't ever contact me again." "But everything's already set up. The guests, the reception, the photographer." "I don't care," Derek said, and his voice was steady now, final. "Whatever money we lose, whatever embarrassment we face, it's worth it to not spend the rest of my life with someone who could lie like this. My mom was right. You've been hiding something all along, and I was too in love to see it." Sheriff Harrison escorted Natalie out of the room. We could hear her crying in the hallway, protesting, trying to argue her way out of what she'd done. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was out, and there was no taking it back. Derek sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Frank and I sat on either side of him, our arms around our son while he processed the implosion of his life. Outside, guests were starting to arrive. We could hear car doors slamming, voices greeting each other, the excited chatter of people expecting a wedding. Janet stepped back into the room. "The priest has been informed. He's going to make an announcement that the ceremony has been postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. You don't have to face anyone if you don't want to, Derek. You can leave through the side door." "No," Derek said, lifting his head. "These people came here for me. They deserve to know why there's no wedding. I'll tell them myself." And he did. 20 minutes later, Derek stood in the church sanctuary in front of 200 people and explained, with a strength I didn't know he had, that he'd discovered his fiancée was already married and the ceremony couldn't proceed. There were gasps, murmurs, a few people crying, but there was also support. Friends surrounding him, family embracing him, people who loved him making sure he knew he'd done the right thing. The anonymous email sender never revealed themselves. We never found out who knew about Natalie's secret and decided to expose it that morning. But whoever they were, they saved Derek from a fraudulent marriage and possible criminal charges. Marcus Chen finally got his divorce 6 months later, when Natalie was forced to appear in court. She left Ohio and, last I heard, moved to Arizona. Derek is healing. He's back to work, seeing a therapist, learning to trust again. And me? I learned that sometimes protecting the people you love means breaking their hearts, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the worst days turn out to be the ones that save your life.